there, welcome to the by-election over National Assembly member underway in Lumbini province. Candidates from UML Congress and the Nagarik Unmukti Party in fray. Death toll in the devastating earthquake that rattled Turkey and Syria nears 8,000. Search continues for people missing under rubble. U.S. President Biden delivers a State of the Union address, urges Congress to help finish economic fight back. And Argentina, Chile, Paraguay and Uruguay submit a joint bid to host 2030 World Cup. 2030 also to mark 100th anniversary of the first World Cup held in Uruguay. And Chairman of CPN-UML KP Sarma Oli have held talks on the contemporary issues and the latest political developments. Prime Minister Dahal reached Oli's residence in Balkod of Bhaktapur this morning to hold the talks. The Prime Minister's secretariat informed that the two leaders discussed the president's election, Rashtriya Swatantra Party's decision to quit the government, among others issues. They also discussed on giving a full shape to the cabinet and the presidential election being held on March 9. The Prime Minister has been effortful of election the president on basis of national consensus, while the UML has assured its claim to the president's post. The National Assembly member polling stations set up at the premises of Staff Meeting Center in Khorahi of Dang. The voting that began at 10 a.m. will end at 3 p.m. The post has remained vacant after CPN-UML's National Assembly member Kimlal Bhattrai of Rupandehi resigned from the post to become the House of Representatives member. CPN-UML's Kumar Dasodi, Madhav Acharya of Nepali Congress and Rajendra Bir Rai of Nagarik Unmukti Party have filed candidacy. 305 voters are casting ballots in the by-election that includes 218 chiefs and deputy chiefs of 109 local levels and 87 provincial assembly members of Lumbini province as the voters. Chief Minister of confidence from the Provincial Assembly meeting today. The meeting of the Provincial Assembly that was called for 11 a.m. has been rescheduled for 1 p.m. Chief Minister Rawal will seek the vote of confidence motions at the meeting, and voting will be held after discussions on the motion. According to Provincial Assembly Secretariat, CPN-UML's Rawal was appointed as the Chief Minister on January 11 as per the Article 168 sub of the Constitution. As per the provision, the vote of confidence should be taken within 30 days of the appointment as a Chief Minister. Rawal laid his claim for the post with the support of 29 Provincial Assembly members that included 10 Provincial Assembly members of UML, 11 of CPN Maoist Center, 7 of Nagarik. However, Nagarik Unmukti Party has decided not to give a vote of confidence to the government. The party has been demanding to withdraw the case filed against Chaudhry and other accused of the Tikapur massacre that took place in 2015. We have more national and international updates at the side. Stay with us. Short break. Welcome back. You're on Nepal Television News. Now the remaining updates. The federal government has demanded details of grants distributed by local level under different headings. The government has demanded grants detail including grants providing agencies, grant recipient individuals or institutions, effectiveness of grants, increment in production and productivity, contribution to job creation and poverty alleviation from lowing under which headings at a local level, according to Joint Secretary at the Ministry of Finance Anand Kafle. As per the Ministry of Federal Affairs and General Administration, the local governments are obliged to provide details of the grants already distributed and plan to be distributed in the current fiscal year. Now we are moving on to international headliners. Rescuers are desperately searching for survivors in southern Turkey and northern Syria after 2 huge earthquakes on Monday. More than 7,800 people have been killed, but there are warnings the death toll could continue to surge. As search efforts continue into a second freezing cold night, time is running out for rescuers to find survivors. Collapsed buildings have joined frenetic rescue efforts in one of the worst hit Turkish cities, using pickaxes and crowbars. Some anguished families have said rescue services took too long to respond in some areas. The first 7.8 magnitude quake struck near Gaziantep in the early hours of Monday, followed by a 7.5 magnitude tremor hours later. U.S. President Joe Biden called on Republicans to help finish the job of delivering for hard-working families. In his State of the Union address, the Democrat stressed the importance of bipartisanship to a divided Congress, where the lower chamber now the wake of an incursion by an alleged Chinese spy balloon. The speech was seen as a blueprint for a widely expected 2024 re-election bid. Biden's 72-minute address on Tuesday night came as his public approval rating hovers near the lowest level of his presidency. We have international headliners, more international headliners at the side. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now the remaining international headliners. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said he fears the world was heading for a wider war as the potential for escalation of the Ukraine war continues. The nearly year-long conflict has been intensifying in recent weeks, with fierce battles between Ukrainian and Russian forces for control of towns in eastern Ukraine. Guterres pointed to the war in Ukraine, runaway climate catastrophe, rising nuclear threats, the widening gulf between the world's hubs, and solidarity and trust. He said this year's 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights should serve as a reminder that the foundation of the inalienable rights of all people is freedom, justice, and peace. New Zealand authorities have recovered 3.2 tons of cocaine, worth more than $300 million, found floating in the Pacific Ocean and believed to be bound for Australia. Police said the hull of 81 bales, which was drifting hundreds of kilometers northwest of New Zealand, was recovered in a joint operation with the New Zealand Customs Service and the Defence Force acting on intelligence from the Five Eyes Alliance, which also officials believe the drugs were dropped at a floating transit point in the Pacific Ocean, where they would have been picked up and taken to Australia. They added it was too early to say where the drugs came from. To the more updates, before that, let's have a quick look into the highlights of the site. Melting mountain glaciers pose a growing flood risk to some 15 million people around the world, researchers said in a report published on Tuesday. With communities in Asia facing the biggest danger, runoff from melting glaciers, often pools in shallow lakes, held back natural barrier and sending a torrent of water rushing down mountain valleys. Scientists have assessed for the first time how many people globally are at risk from these floods, finding that more than half of vulnerable populations live in India, Pakistan, China, and Peru. Glacier lake outburst floods are projected to worsen in a warming climate. Collectively, the world's glaciers lost about 332 gigatons of ice a year between 2006 and 2016. In the high mountains of Asia, some 9 million people live near more than 2,000 glacial lakes. In 2021, more than 100 people were killed in India in an outburst of flood in its northern mountains. Argentina, Uruguay, Chile and Paraguay reinforced on Tuesday their 2030 together joint bid to host the 2030 World Cup, this time in Buenos Aires at the headquarters of the current world champion. President of Argentina Football Association, Claudio Tapia, said in press conference that if they win the 2030 World Cup, opening game would be played in Argentina and the final in Uruguay. The main argument of the Southern Cone countries to support their candidacy is that 2030 will mark the 100th anniversary of the first World Cup. Uruguay in 1930, therefore, for CONMEBOL celebrate the date. When asked about the renewal of Lionel Scaloni's contract as head coach of the Argentina national team, Tapia did not confirm it but asked to wait for the good news. Well, we're almost at the end of this news bulletin, but before we say goodbye, quick reminders of the headlines again. By-election over National Assembly member underway in Lumbini province. Candidates from UML Congress and Nagarik Unmukti Party in fray. Death toll in the devastating earthquake that rattled Turkey and Syria nears 8,000. Search continues for people missing under rubble. U.S. President Biden delivers a state. And Argentina, Chile, Paraguay and Uruguay submit a joint bid to host 2030 World Cup. 2030 also to mark 100th anniversary of the first World Cup held in Uruguay. This is the wrap-up of this bulletin. Until our next bulletin in English. Goodbye, good day ahead. Namaste.